So my name is Ryder Wolf. I go by he, they pronouns. Is there anything else you want in an introduction, or just kind of like name?
No, that's good.
Cool. Yeah, so I guess the thing is that for the context of this story, when I was born, I was assigned female at birth. Growing up, I did not look super feminine, nor did I act very feminine. And as I went through puberty, I did start to develop some male characteristics, which was something I never really thought about till I got much older. But one of the things is that I did have a full female reproductive system, which is kind of how I was assigned female at birth. So with that, when I started going through puberty and getting older, I had really, really bad periods, really, really bad pain, just problems left and right with that reproductive system. Starting at 14, I had cysts, one that ruptured and sent me to the hospital for I think a week or something. I don't remember all the details because it was really bad, and they gave me a lot of morphine, which for a 14-year-old will mess with your head. I actually had quite a few hallucinations on that, which was interesting because I didn't figure out they were hallucinations until a couple years later, bringing them up to other people that were there that were like, that didn't happen, which is a hilarious experience to have. If you're just like, yeah, I remember this so vividly, and people are like, nope, that was drugs, congrats. But so I was starting at 14 is when I started getting diagnoses, I guess. I don't know what the plural of diagnosis is, but so at that point I was diagnosed with PCOS. I forget what it actually stands for, but basically the idea of PCOS, there's a lot of things, but the big main thing that gets you diagnosed with that is that you have ovarian cysts. And so I got quite large ones. They would rupture. They would send me to the hospital. It would be very, very painful. But then as I got older, I was having more problems. And instead of they put me on birth control at 14, which helped to some extent, but also caused more problems. Especially because the one that they gave me ended up giving, they found out years later that it gives patients, brain, it kills your brain cells, basically. So they took me off of it after 7 years of being on it, which was hard, and also threw my body back into chaos. So I ended up being in and out of the hospital again. They thought I might have cancer. They weren't sure. They ended up, I think it was 2022. Levi would know because he watched my dogs during this. But I ended up getting rushed to the hospital. They thought my ovary was twisting in on itself, and they rushed me into surgery same day. During that surgery, they didn't end up taking it out because they said it wasn't twisted. What I had was just a bunch of cysts that were causing me pain. They didn't take it out or do anything about the cysts because they don't. Medically, they won't do anything about a cyst unless it is so large or ruptures and causes other issues. So at that point, I got that surgery, and the surgeon calls me a couple days later, and she's like, you have severe endometriosis. I can't officially diagnose you because I didn't take a sample because I didn't have your permission beforehand, so I couldn't. But she was like, you need a hysterectomy. You have severe endometriosis, you have PCOS, you have fibroids, which are little tumors that grow in your ovaries. And she was like, it's spreading, and it's spreading fast. It's very, very bad. You need to get a hysterectomy. So I go into the hospital she works at a couple weeks later, and I say, hey, the surgeon told me I need to get a hysterectomy. How do I do this? And they tell me no. They say, we're not going to do that for you. I think I was 24, maybe 25, something like that. They said, you're too young. You don't have kids. What if you want to have children? I said, I'm infertile. I've had multiple doctors tell me that due to my various diagnoses, whatever, the scarring and just a variety of issues, I will never be able to have children. And I could get pregnant, but I would just keep miscarrying, which did happen. And they were like, no, you're too young. You're not married. You haven't had the chance to have kids. We're not performing this surgery. I tried to push back, and I was like, it's medically necessary. I've had a surgeon at this hospital tell me I need this. But I was told that for someone of my age to get a hysterectomy, it would have to be approved by the board of directors, and the board of directors would never approve it. So I just kind of moved on. Decided whatever. A couple years, maybe not even a full year after that, I started testosterone, which probably actually saved my ability to walk. I found out later on. But testosterone slowed down the progression of these multiple diseases. which I was very, very thankful. I was able to get on testosterone pretty early because I went to Planned Parenthood. And when I went, they were like, yeah, we have here 2 years ago that you told us you think you're trans. So we're ready to just start you on testosterone today. And I was like, that's amazing. I don't remember doing that, but that tracks. So I was able to get on it really quickly, which probably saved my ability to walk, because the thing about endometriosis is that whenever you're basically supposed to get your period, whenever like the ovulation is happening, it sheds your whatever lining. But with endometriosis, it doesn't stay, it doesn't like come out, it leaks basically into your other pelvic organs. And so then those organs start to get damaged too. So that ended up happening to me. Thankfully, the progression had slowed, but that was continuing to happen to the point where last October, I started getting really sick. I couldn't really move very well. I couldn't do much. I was in a lot of pain all the time. Started the process with another surgeon, getting this surgery. And I kept getting pushed around. And this is kind of where I say that I think my trans identity is what prevented me from getting immediate care. One, having the female identity to begin with prevented me from getting care. And then additionally, when I asked for this surgery again, because I was in such severe pain, I kept getting pushed around. I would go to a surgeon who was for, let's say, like OBGYN surgeon. And they would say, oh, well, you're trans. This is a trans or gender affirming care surgery. So they would send me to gender affirming care. Gender affirming care would then look at me and say, this is a medical necessity surgery. This is not gender affirming care. And if you go through gender affirming care, your surgery's not going to, or your insurance isn't going to cover this. So you have to go through the OBGYN. And it was months of this, of getting pushed back and forth between OBGYN, gender affirming care, talking to my insurance, talking to the different surgeons and the different primary cares, because you need referrals to get to these people in the first place. And it ended up being, I think it was May, when it was probably a little bit before May that they were like, great, we're going to put you on surgery. The soonest one is October. And this was like a full year after I started the process. But then in May, I started losing feeling in my legs. They were going numb. I could walk, but I couldn't feel it that well. Driving felt a little funny. I was just having a really hard time. It was about 3 days of having numb legs, pretty consistently, and they were getting worse, that I decided to call. And I called them and I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. And they tell me what's happening is that the endometriosis has basically surrounded the nerves in my legs, and it's starting to kill them. And so the damage that was done is permanent. But I do have more feeling than I did at that time. They were able to get out most of it, but I do have permanent damage to my legs. And had they not had rushed me into emergency surgery because of the numbness, I probably would not have feeling in my waist and below. So that was really, really frustrating, because I wouldn't have permanent leg damage had I just not been seen as, oh, you're trans, so automatically everything is going to go to gender affirming care. And I wouldn't have had the permanent damage to my other organs, or had to have every organ, my entire reproductive system is gone. And I wouldn't have had to do that had I just been given the proper care years ago, which was also very interesting, because at the time, the whole, you haven't had a child thing came up, and I told them I'm gay. I'm not going to have a biological child. That's just not something I care about. It's not something I'm after. It's not something that's going to randomly happen to me. And they didn't care. This idea of your husband, your future husband, kept coming up. And it's I don't have a desire to have a future husband. So I think queerness really prevented me from getting care that, if I had gotten at the time, would have saved me months off of work, would have saved organs that had to come out of my body. I will probably lose my appendix in the next couple years, because it's so severely damaged. My bladder is damaged, my legs are damaged. All of these things could have been prevented if people had just seen me as a person instead of a queer.